So Tim, earnings season. I mean,
Oh man.
this is like bowl season for college football. And today was, I guess, the granddaddy of them all, to quote Keith Jackson, Apple and Amazon. So
It was crazy out there, man. But before we do that, I'm a little giddy right now. Were you ever a fan of WWF? I mean, the whole yeah, who wasn't? Well, dude, hold your socks, man. I just realized today that the Iron Sheik is following yours truly, bro, on Twitter. What do you think about that?
That happened today.
Look, I just happened to kind of look up and see who's following me, and there was the Iron Sheik, dude. The Iron Sheik. It's awesome, man. How about that?
I typically hate to do things like this because I can see how excited you are.
What do you mean? What do you got?
Iron Sheik was following me like 6 months ago.
Come on. All right. Really?
No, I'm telling you. And when I saw it, I'm like, is this legit Iron Sheik? Or is this some crazy Iron Sheik? But it's the legit
now
Iron
you're gonna
Sheik.
Yeah, now you're gonna tell me that Jimmy Superfly Snuka or Randy Macho Man Savage are following you too.
You know what?
Man.
Can I first of all, I think the Macho Man passed away, number one. And I can't speak intelligently about Superfly, whether he's with us or not. But if given the choice of, the would you rather, I'll take the Superfly off the top rope over Randy Macho Man Savage any day of the week.
Well, it's not the top row, man. It's the top turnbuckle. All right. So obviously you weren't that big of a fan. And if I was teaming up with Greg the Hammer Valentine and getting you into a suplex hold, and then we'd be waiting for Nikolai Volkov to come in to tag in. By the way, Nikolai Volkov's real name was like Nick Gustav or something.
Wasn't his nickname like the Russian Bear?
Yeah, and guess what? He's from Yugoslavia, which doesn't exist anymore. So he was from the country formerly known as Yugoslavia. But back then in this country, we didn't care and we didn't know. We thought the Iron Curtain just meant they were all Russian, and in fact they were Soviet.
But of course,
at the time.
As a proud half Sicilian, half Italian American, my favorite wrestler of all time, and I know you know the answer to this, was the great Bruno Sammartino.
Bruno was unbelievable. If I had I had two favorites. I mean, first of all, there's no Andre the Giant was just truly bigger than life. So I mean, Andre did something for me that I can't really explain. And then how about Junkyard Dog? I mean,
JYD.
He was crazy enough to make you think twice. So let's tag back in on this one because the price action in Amazon today was, we certainly didn't pin it. We didn't count it out. But it, congratulations. I think you really nailed the traders set up for this, which was that we'd had a big run into it. And here we are pulling 5% back on great numbers.
Great numbers. Really great. Actually, much better than I thought. And the fact that their operating margins were able to stay as robust as they were, to me, was astonishing, given what they probably had to spend in a quarter. So the numbers were great. My point all along had been this. This stock went from 16.10 to 24 something. I mean, it rallied 52%. It makes sense. It makes sense to me that you own it into earnings, pull the ripcord, and then try to buy it back cheap. But what I've said and what I'll continue to say is I think you're going to have a chance to buy it back at the previous all-time high, which you made in February, of 2170 or thereabouts. I think that's where you reload. Now, whether or not that comes to fruition remains to be seen. But, given what the market's doing, given some of the rhetoric out of the White House in regards to China, maybe you'll see that 2170 level.
Well, I think what I was saying yesterday is you basically want to be in a cage match with Amazon because you want to be around for this thing. But you're right that the move into this thing, 52% in 32 days, was from a company that rallied hard into this period. So there's a lot of companies, there's airlines, there's banks, there's cruise lines that got destroyed. Amazon only fell about 25% only. But, the market fell down about 37% at the intraday low. And then to rally 52% off of that to take us to where we were, I don't know how you could have really survived today without a small pullback. So good for you for making that call. I think the two things that stood out for me, the COVID-19 $4 billion call it extraneous costs that they've attached to this are going away. There's no question that they did whatever they needed to do to take market share during this time. Also, let's remember that this is a company that we've rewarded in the past for their desire to spend on their business and haven't really cared about the bottom line, right? So top line beats, fantastic. Bottom line misses, that's okay, but not today. And then the other things that were really important about today's number, Prime Services grew 28% year over year. That's the gift that keeps on giving. That's the flywheel. That's the ecosystem. We talk about this with Apple and what they've got with services and installed base. Amazon Prime is the entire, I think, center for a lot of this movement.
So as I've said, and I'll say to you, the next thing I buy on Amazon will be the first thing. But since we started this with wrestling, I'll sort of end.
I love that, man. You use that line for anytime you want to be controversial. You use that line and attach it to anything. Keep going. All right, it's good.
I'm just trying to keep it real. But what I would, if I were to buy something, remember George the Animal Steel?
How could you not know George the Animal Steel? He looked a little bit like
the distinguishing characteristic of him in your memory.
He had a black unitard, if I remember. Did he have like there's something with his teeth? Did he have metal teeth or something? Was he kind of like Jaws?
He had his back hair was as robust as his chest hair. So I mentioned that in the context of Amazon because
so maybe he's an idol for you.
Pick up one of those, those Manscaped things that are advertised all the time to sort of trim that back situation up a bit.
Well, I think we're getting into a place where once again people may be learning more about you than they want to know. But look, let's tie up today. Apple versus Amazon cage match. Who won?
Well, the stock would suggest Apple won, but I would think that Amazon won. So it's interesting. I'm not trying to duck your question, but I thought the Amazon quarter was pretty remarkable given what's going on. I thought the Apple quarter was fine. I mean, there's nothing to, I think there was something for everybody. The fact that now services are 25% of this quarter's revenue is encouraging, but I think the Amazon quarter was ridiculous. So I think Apple won in the stock game, Amazon won in the earnings game. How's that?
No, that's fine, and I'll lay this out there for the market, which has now gone through a good chunk of earnings season, and it kind of feels like after I left the Westchester County Center at the end of WrestleMania. Like I'm not sure what we can do for an encore here, and I actually worry that the market, which actually kind of poo-pooed earnings season, said it's not going to mean much. Let's throw it out the window. Companies don't need to guide. Who would? The market's gotten actually a lot of glass half full out of this earnings season. And I'm not sure that the Hulkster's coming out to help them out anytime soon. So for someone that's been constructive on the market, I'm not ready to run for the hills. I just want to say that I think earnings season is something that's going to ultimately leave a void in people's lives, much like the end of WrestleMania did for me.
And let me put a bow on your bow and say this. If you're a fan of wrestling, you remember that special delivery SD Jones used to start out like just on fire, but invariably he would lose every single match. So my concern is maybe the market is your today's SD Jones. Something to think about.
And with that, I think let's ask that question tomorrow. Good night, guys.
Later on.